Hi everyone and welcome back. My name is Kicherra and this is Kicherra Creates. If this is your first time here with me today, hello, I am an artist and instructor and I am here to bring you another simple and easy painting tutorial for beginners. So today I wanted to do something, just kind of feminine, a little bit different. So I'm going to paint some teacups today and a teapot with some flowers. So anyone that knows me knows that I love hot tea, herbal tea. I don't know, I was drinking tea this morning. That's what I got inspired by, so that's what we're going to paint. So like usual, we're going to go ahead and get started with the background. Today I'm thinking I want to do some lighter colors. So I think I want to do the background blue and maybe the base of the table a really light gray or something along those lines. So I always draw out the background, or excuse me, paint the background first, and then we'll sketch our teapot and everything over top of that. All right, so let's get started. So I typically use the primary colors because I like to mix my own colors. So the primary colors are yellow, red, and blue. You can literally make every single color with those three colors, of course with the addition of black and white. However, when it comes to like flesh tones like peach and brown and things of that nature, I typically keep a base of those as well and then mix whatever skin tone I would like to, just because it's a pain to mix flesh tones with the primary colors. Anyway, today we're doing some teapot, so I'm gonna get off my rant and let's get started. So I like to blend my backgrounds just on the canvas, especially because I don't like my backgrounds to just be a solid shade of anything. I like to have the different color variations in there. So right now I'm just taking some white paint, just white, and applying it to the canvas. And I want the background to be a light blue shade, so I'm going to use a good amount of white paint. So hopefully you guys can see this well. However, it doesn't matter. I'm just putting some strokes of white paint down onto the canvas. Another thing that I always like to mention is I like to keep a handheld dryer at hand. That way, if our background is a little bit too wet after we finish painting everything, to go ahead and sketch over top of it, we can speed up that process. A nice thing about acrylic paint is that it dries really fast. So you can wait 10 or 20 minutes and just let it dry if you want to, if you don't want to use a dryer, but I can be kind of impatient, so I like to just use a dryer. All right, so make sure you don't forget to get some of that white paint on the sides, the top, and the bottom of your canvas too. And see, I didn't cover over the entire background with the white paint. I did use a good amount though, because I want this to be a light blue. But all right, so then I'm just gonna go right into my blue paint, and just like I did with the white, add some streaks of the blue to it. Don't forget the sides, the bottom, and the top as well. So I'm just adding blue onto that white that we put down first. And it is very important to do your background first, because painting is all about layers. It's always nice to have your background done first, or undertone done first. That way it does not take as many coats of paint to get the color saturation that you want. All right, I'm gonna start just blending some of this out to see what shade we have and to see if I want to add any more white or blue to this. And when it comes to the black background, you want to make sure that you don't see any bits of the canvas poking through the background. So make sure your background is nice and saturated with paint. And see, don't forget the tops and the bottoms. I say that all the time because I have a tendency to forget. So, hey, I like to remind my own self as well. And before I add any water or anything to this background, I'm going to blend out the paint that I have on here first. Especially because we're going to sketch right onto the background. I do not want this paint to be overly saturated with water. That way it won't take as long to dry and we can just paint over it easier. And as you can see, I'm doing long, consistent strokes up and down. You can go right to left if you prefer. However, you just want your strokes to be consistent. And I'm just smoothing out the paint. And see, I like how it looks with all the different shades or the different strokes of the blue coming through. How some areas are lighter and darker. I like that, which is why I like to mix my background on the canvas. And see down at the bottom, because how my easel is, you see how I kind of push down into it and then I pull the paint up to get those nice smooth strokes. The same thing at the top too, if you have a little easel like mine. It is more convenient if you are painting at the table, because that way you can just do all your sides at one time and you don't have to worry about it. But working with what I got. So see, I did not saturate my brush with any water at all. I just used the water that was already on the brush when I took it out of my cup. And then see, I just went ahead and blend everything with that, which is perfect. That means our paint is not going to be overly saturated with water. Make sure that you don't see any pieces of the background poking through. And let me double check the tops and the sides. Let me step over here for a second. The tops and the sides and the bottoms, you still want to make sure you don't see any bit of the background poking through or any bits of the canvas poking through. You want that to be nicely saturated with paint as well. Another tip is if you don't want, or if you forget to paint the background, you can always go back, paint the sides and the top and the bottom of your canvas. You can always go back later and do that. If you feel like you're having a hard time blending the same exact shades as you did before, then you can just paint around the edges with black. I actually like how that looks. I think it looks really nice and professional. All right, good. And see, this is what I love about acrylic paint. This is basically dry. So this is the 16 by 20 inch canvas. This is the size that I typically use. Just so you guys know, but you do not have to use this size canvas. It's just the size that I'm used to working with. All right. I'm just blending it out some more. Nothing too complicated, just blending out the background. All right, perfect. I'm not going to be OCD about it. I'm just going to leave it alone. All right, so I typically, because this is a 16 by 20 inch canvas, when it comes to doing my proportions and things of that nature, I typically use a yardstick. Of course, if you're using a smaller canvas or a smaller paper or anything like that, you can use a ruler, but I am going to use my yardstick. And like I said, I'm going to do the base of the table in a gray. So I'm going to use just a smaller flat brush. And I'm going to use some gray paint, so just some black and some white. The more white you add to it, of course, the lighter gray you'll have. The more black you add to it, the darker the gray will be. All right. So this is a 16 by 18, 16 by 20 inch canvas. So I am going to bring the table up pretty high for this one. It's going to be pretty high. So at the 9-inch mark, I'm going to do a little line right here. And then we're going to mimic that same thing over here on this side. We'll do a line at the 9. And I'm going to saturate this brush with just a little bit of water so it sketches really nicely. Then I'm going to hold my yardstick as secure as I can and just make a line. That's it. Bring it around to the sides of your canvas as well. Perfect. Then I'm just gonna paint all of this down here with that gray. And I could have at the beginning just sectioned it off and did the top blue and the bottom gray, but I like having the tones kind of blend in with each other. So I'm gonna use that same large flat brush that we used originally. And see, it still has some of the blue in it, which is fine because I want this gray to still have some of that blue tone to it. So I'm just gonna start adding some gray, and just like we did with the black and the white, to make, with the white and the blue to make that light blue, we're going to basically do the same thing with the gray too. And see, you see how that's already dry? I love that about acrylic paint. Love it, love it, love it. See, I'm liking that. You can see some of the blue peeking through, which is what I like because it's going to ensure that this background looks really good with the blue that we use. It's going to kind of blend into each other or have that blue undertone. I am going to saturate my brush with some water and blend out some of this that we already have on here. This doesn't need to be super thick because we already have an undertone to it. So I'm just painting the gray on here. And since this is going to be a little bit more saturated with water, I will probably use the blow dryer just for a minute or so, just to dry everything off. I'd rather do that and get it nice and dry than have you guys just listening to me talk for 20 minutes or so while I wait for it to dry. Probably wouldn't take that long, but just saying. And see, it's already dry right here. That's why I love acrylic paint. It dries really fast. So I'm going to do the teapot and the teacups and pink, a light shade of pink. And the vase, I think I'm going to do a light yellow shade. And we're going to have some white flowers with some hints of yellows and oranges and stuff inside of it. All right. And you still want this to be nice and smooth also. Alright, so I'm kind of taking my brush and going up into that original line that I had and kind of softening it up with some of this lighter tone that we got when we mixed the gray onto the canvas. Do that on the sides also. And then I'm going to blend that out too. And we're going to sketch over top of this, so you can always go back and touch up the background at the end. That's what I love about acrylic paint, or just painting in general. Paint is very forgiving in comparison to drawing everything out. So, perfect. And usually when it comes to vases and things of that nature, I usually am real particular about measuring everything out and all of that. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to go ahead and kind of eyeball it. And of course, I can never find the paintbrush that I want. There we go. So I'm going to use a small round brush, and it's just called a round brush because it does not have a flat or straight edge to it. So pink is just red and white, so I'm going to get some red and put some white in it. The more white you add, of course, the lighter the pink's going to be. If you feel like you made your pink too light, then just add more red to it. If you feel like it's too dark, then add more white to it. It's just that simple. So I'm just going to make a nice pink shade. And I am going to start sketching out my teapot first. I'm going to do the teapot, then I'm going to place my vase, and then I'm going to put the teacup in saucer kind of centered in front of the vase. So we're going to start with the teapot. All right, and I'm adding a good amount of water to this paint so that it's nice and diluted so that I can sketch with it easily. So I get nice smooth lines. So I'm making sure I have it at a nice thin consistency before I start. That way I don't have to keep adding water to it. So I want the teapot to to sit on the table, but of course you can see the background where it goes over the background as well. So just starting with a circle. And we're just sketching this off. I felt like it was dry enough, so I didn't go ahead and dry it off. I didn't feel like I needed to do that with the blow dryer, but of course you can if you feel like it's too wet, or you can just, like I said, wait about 5-10 minutes until it gets fairly dry, and then you can just sketch right over top of it. So right here at the top, I'm going to do a little oval, and then I'm going to bring that oval up. And then I'm going to add a little circle on top of there. So I'm going to step on this side, and I'm going to start my handle right here. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to bring that up some more. And just make my handle, kind of think of it like a little C shape. Just make a little C coming off the side of your pot. All right, now we're going to do the spout. So start with 2 little angled lines coming out the other end of your teapot, a little circle, or excuse me, oval in the middle or at the top of that. And I'm going to arch this line a little bit. Perfect. So I'm going to do the vase coming down a little bit more right here, and then having the teacup, like I said, kind of in front of that. So I'm going to sketch out the vase in a light yellow. So just yellow and white, that's it. And I already need more white paint on my palette, but it's okay. So just mixing some yellow and some white to get a nice pale or pastel yellow. Add a little bit more water and make sure it's nicely diluted so that we can sketch with it easily. And like I said, I'm really kind of just eyeballing this painting. I want to make it kind of simple and easy. I don't want to make it overly complicated. So just right around here, I'm going to draw a line for my vase. Maybe I'll make it a little bit larger. There we go. And I'm just going to make 2 straight lines going up off the sides of it. And we're going to make a little rectangle. And we'll close it off right here. Perfect. Now, before I sketch out the teacup over top of this, I'm going to add the flowers first, or sketch out the flowers. That way this yellow can dry a little bit and we won't have the pink turning orange. So let me get some more white paint. Matter of fact, I'm actually going to get another plate. All right, yes, I know I need to get a new paint palette, but I'll have one coming soon. So I always go through a lot of white paint and typically a lot of yellow, so. So I'm just getting some white paint, that's it, and diluting it. White and black paint is really thick. So typically it takes a good amount of water to dilute those colors. And I'm just gonna make some petals. They almost look like elongated hearts. So think about it like you're making little hearts. Then I'm gonna almost make what looks like a V. And kind of cover that with a, or kind of close that into a heart also. I'll make this one going down this way. Same thing, little heart. And I want to make some little heart shaped petals looking like they're coming from out the back as well. And I'm going to leave some space because I'm going to come back in with some green to do some leaves. So let me put that plate down and let me get this one. And I'm just going to use some green paint, a little bit of yellow, and some white. And make a nice pastel green. And we're just going to make some simple petals poking through here. or not petals, excuse me, leaves. I'm just going to kind of play around with them. Wherever I see some negative space, I'm just going to add some of these little leaves poking through. I think I might add one right here and bring one down here. Maybe I'll do a little one up here too, kind of poking through. I'm going to go ahead and fill these in all the way with the green. And see, just in between here where there was some negative space, I filled it in with some green. You can always go back and make your petals or your flowers larger if you feel like you need to. You can make them smaller as well by just covering up with some light blue. You can always go back and touch up your backgrounds or any part of the painting at the end once the paint dries. That's what I love about painting. You can literally paint over anything once it's dry. So I'm just making these a little bit longer, having them come more to a point. That's all I'm doing. And this one I'm not being too fussy with because the teapot is going to kind of go behind the teapot. So we'll just leave that alone. I'm going to clean this brush off, and I'm going to go back into just my plain white paint. I think I'm going to add another little heart shape here for another little flower. Maybe I'll do another little heart coming from behind there. All right, I'm going to leave that alone. Clean my brush off again. And pick up my other plate, excuse me, my other plate, and I'm gonna mix up just a little bit more of that pink, just red and white. That's it. That's all it takes to make pink. The more red you add, the darker shade of pink you'll have. The more white, the lighter it will be. All right, so I'm going to just kind of eyeball where I want my teacup to go. I want it to kind of overlap the vase. So I'm going to do an oval right here at the bottom of the vase. And then I am going to make a U. I like to bring down the lines first to kind of eyeball how large I want it to be and make a little U shape. There we go. And make our handle coming off the side of the teacup. Voila, we've got a teacup. So to make the plate, I'm literally, or the saucer, I'm going to just make an oval coming off the side and then around. And see up here, I feel like I made it a little bit too high, which is fine. We can just touch that up with some of the gray paint that we had. And go right over top of it with the gray paint. And touch that up. Let me take a step back and look at that real fast. Okay, that looks fairly good. So with a little bit more of that pink, I'm going to just do a nice little small kind of line underneath the plate or underneath the saucer. All right, perfect. So I'm going to clean off my brush and I'm going to get some red paint and some white. I want a darker version of that pink that we had, so I'm going to add just a touch of green to it. Green is going to darken up the red or darken up the pink and give it a different tone, and kind of just keep playing around with it. Add more red to it. Don't add too much green. You can always keep going back and adding it little by little. If you add too much green into the red, it will turn brown. So we just literally want kind of a darker pink tone. And right where the lid is, I'm going to do a line right there with that darker color. Right here where the spout, uh-oh, I got some blue in it. Pick that up. All right, right here where the spout is, I'm going to do some right here and where the handles are. Right up here where that little U, or excuse me, little circle is too. All right, right here where the plate and the cup would meet, right around the size of the handle so it doesn't blend too much into the handle of the teacup. And right here where that bottom line is for the teacup and the saucer. And sorry y'all, they're cutting grass outside, so if y'all can hear that, my apologies, but hey, I'm not gonna allow that to stop me. All right, let me take a step back, let me look at it. Okay. Up in here, around the corners, I'm gonna add some more of that darker pink or red to it also. All right, perfect. So I'm gonna switch to just a larger round brush because we're gonna fill in the pinks for the teacups. So I'm just gonna use that same pink that I already was using just by mixing the red and the white together. And I'm just gonna literally fill in the teacup and the teapot and the saucer. I'm gonna kind of leave alone the areas where I put that red. It's okay if you blend into it a little bit, but I want it to stand out that that's where our shadows are going to go, our darker tones. If you feel like you need more pink paint and just more red and white, that's all we did. And I'm just filling it in. And see, I'm kind of painting in round or circular motions. Just fill in that pink in the middle. You want to get a good color saturation. You don't want to see any of that gray in the background of the pink. So try to cover up as much of that as you can. You don't have to be too particular about it though, because like I hinted before, painting is all about layers. So we are going to go back in with some more layers of different shades of pink and red and all of that, just to blend or just to add some shadows and all of that to make it look more realistic. So now I'm just going over the handle with some of that pink. And like I mentioned, this is a beginner's tutorial, so don't worry about it being perfect. You just want it to be pretty at the end of the day. Which is why I didn't get overly complicated and sketch every little detail out or measure every little thing out. All right, so let's fill in the top right here with that pink. Fill in the top of the little handle up here with the pink. And you know what? I'll go back to that small brush because I want to add some more of that dark red or that darker pink right up here. I forgot about up here, the spout. All right, and fill the rest of it in with that lighter pink. And like I keep mentioning, if you go out your lines a little bit, don't worry too much. We can go back and touch that up later. All right, let me take a step back for a second. Okay. All right, so let's fill in the pink right here for the teacup. And I'm gonna get that small brush again, and I think I'm gonna cover up all of the bottom down there with that darker red or pink color. And the same down here. I'm just gonna put a little bit more on the sides of it. All right. All right, gonna put that color down, go back in with the light pink. See how I kind of blended into where the red was? I didn't cover it all up. And like I said, if you covered up any of the lines just a little bit, don't worry too much about it. I'm going to add some more of that red to the handle so it doesn't blend in with the rest of the saucer. All right. And right in here, I'm going to fill that in with some of the pink too. I'm going to do like I did down here. I'm not going to cover up all of that red. I'm just going to kind of blend into it some. All right, so I'm going to clean my brush out. And I'm going to get some more of that light yellow that we had, just that light yellow, and fill in our vase. Kind of be careful when you go around the teacup, since we just put that pink down. We don't really want it to turn orange, but like I said, you can always go back and touch it up. There we go. There we go. All right, so when it comes to doing our white flowers here, I don't want it to just, I don't want to fill it in just with plain solid white. I'm going to use that small brush that we had, and I'm going to take some white paint over to the side and get just a little bit of yellow. I want it to have a hint of yellow to it. I don't want it to just be a plain white. But the yellow is so light that it almost looks white, but beside the white, you can tell the color difference. All right, so I'm just going to paint in all of these little heart-shaped petals that we made with this really pale yellow. And I'm kind of smoothing out the lines as I go too, being a little bit more particular. Kind of going over any of those little petals or leaves that I feel like I want to make more pronounced. I'm just filling in all of these with that really light yellow that we used. And see, any ones that I feel like I want to make a little bit larger, I just make a little bit larger. Thin out my paint just a little bit, dilute it with just a little bit of water. Get some more white and just a little bit more yellow to make some more of that really light yellow tone that we had. All right. All right. And the same thing with these little flowers over here. And usually I'm talking up a storm, but the last couple of days I've been very relaxed, so sorry if I get kind of quiet here and there. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you guys, of course, all of my paintings are available for purchase. So if you would like to purchase one of my originals, or I'm actually currently accepting commission pieces, just email me. All my email information is down below. And you guys engage with me, talk with me. If you have any questions or if you have any suggestions on tutorials that you want to do in the future, then just let me know. Comment below. I welcome comments. Forgot to add a little pink right here. And I've had 2 suggestions from some of my subscribers. I had one to do a bohemian elephant, and I fulfilled that one. And I had one to do a lotus flower, and I did that one as well. So I appreciate suggestions and all of that stuff as well. So I'm going to take a little bit of the pink that we used, and in the middle, I'm going to kind of dab some in the middle. On the ones that are more so on the sides, I'm going, like these ones right here, how it's more so to the side, I'm going to just do some little strokes of the pink. Up in here too. All right, perfect. So I'm going to take some yellow and that pink that we were using and make a really pale orange or coral color with it. And where some of these petals overlap, I'm going to add some of this tone. So right here where we added some of the pink to add some of that also. Up in here. Up here. And around these little petals also. All right. Take a little bit more of that pink that we had and kind of go in between some of these petals some. There we go, just so they stand out a little bit more. There we go. And I'm adding some of that pink to just some of the areas where I added some of that orange too. Step on this side, add a little bit more water to my brush to dilute that paint just a little bit and separate these petals a little bit too. All right. Down in here also. Actually, I'm going to darken this up some down in here. There we go. All right, let me step back and look at it. Okay, I'm liking how that's looking. Let me add some love with this pink on the sides of these petals as well. At the bottom too. And we're going to go back in with white after this dries a little bit and blend some of this out. The top of some of these petals. All right, perfect. Now I'm going to make a dark green, so I'm just going to use some green, and like we did before, I'm not going to add any yellow to it. I'm just going to add a little bit of red. You want to add your red little by little, because like I mentioned before, if you add too much to the green, it will just turn brown. And I just want a nice dark green shade. So on the sides of the leaves, I'm going to do a line of the green and kind of push it out to going towards the middle of the leaf. And I'm going to do that for all of them. And then kind of just push it out going towards the middle. And see how I kind of paint around the flower and then go and pull the color out towards the middle. So just paint around the sides and then pull the paint out towards the middle. All right, same thing with these ones. Paint around the sides. We go in here where some of those flowers are overlapping this leaf and fill it in with that darker shade. And then pull that darker green out towards the middle. And we'll do this one too. Same thing, kind of paint on the sides and then blend it in towards the middle. The same with these guys, nothing's changed. Paint around the side and push the paint out towards the middle. And this last little petal too. And come around the sides of these little petals. Do that here too. And then push the paint out. All right, now I'm not even going to clean my brush off. I'm going to mix up some more of that lighter green that we used originally. So I'm going to just pull over some yellow. I didn't even clean my brush out. Pulled over some yellow, add some green to it. It doesn't have to be the same exact shade. We just want a lighter green. And I'm going to dilute this some because I don't want this to be too thick because I want it to blend into what we already had on there. So I don't want to cover up all the layers that we just created. So I want my paint to be nice and thin, like an ink consistency. All right. Then in the middle, I'm going to kind of do little wiggly lines or squiggles like this back and forth to blend in some of that lighter green with some of that dark green to soften up the areas where we put the dark green. And I'm just going to do that with all of them. Make sure your paint's not too thick, thick, because you do not want to paint over all of those layers that you just did. You want to kind of just blend it together. And see how I'm kind of just wiggling my brush back and forth like this, just to give a nice blended effect. Do this guy too. And see, I'm starting in the middle and then kind of blending it out towards the end. So start in the middle and blend it out. All right, and this guy also, start in the middle, start to blend it out. All right, I'm gonna go over this yellow again. I actually think I want to make it a little bit brighter. So all we did for this was yellow and white. So just yellow, get some more white. I still want a soft yellow, but I want it brighter than what we've got. I think that's good. Just added a little bit more yellow into it. Yep, there we go. And just do another coat of that yellow. And sorry, you guys, I'm kind of quiet today. I'm just very relaxed. I'm just filling in the yellow. That's all I did. And I'm going to switch back to that small round brush that I was using. And I'm going to thin this same yellow out some more. And I'm going to add some hints of this yellow up into these flowers also. And see, I kind of just gauge it as I'm going to see where I want to add this and that and all of that good stuff. So just in the middle, I'm going to do little strokes of this yellow. I'm not being too picky or anything. I'm just adding some hints of yellow to these petals for these flowers. I'm kind of starting in the middle and then working its way out. And I'm giving all the little petals some love with this yellow. So just add in some yellow, starting at the middle and blending it out towards the top of the petals. There we go. Let me take a step back, like I keep saying. Let me look at it. Okay, that's pretty. All right. So with that same round brush, I'm going to pick up my other plate where I had mostly just my white on. And I'm going to dilute this white or thin out this white a bunch. make it very runny, not too much. If you turn your brush like this and you have water dripping down, then that's too much water. Then you want to add more paint to it if that's the case. Either that or wipe off some of the water. All right, so just like how I added in the middle and kind of fanned it out, we're going to do the same thing with this white. So we're going to start in the middle and fan it out. Now, you don't want your white to be too thick because you still want to be able to see all those shades that you blended in there with the rest of the flowers, excuse me. You still want to be able to see all those colors coming through. And see, that's too thick, so I'm just going to add some water and blend out what I just put down. All right, same with the rest of the flowers, all the little petals. Get some more water, thin this out some more. Starting in the middle and blending it out. Make sure your paint's not too thick. You do not want to cover over all that work that we just did. See, painting is all about layers. Layering, layering, layering. All right, and as you probably noticed, I take a step back each little time. All right. So I'm going to lighten up this pink some. So I'm just going to get some red. I'm going to put it over here on this plate where I have the white. And just make a lighter version of that pink. And I'm going to kind of thin it out some, so it doesn't need to be too thick. And I'm thinning it out just by adding some water to it. And see, it's just a little bit lighter, not too much. And you see how I started in the middle? Then I'm pushing it out towards the sides. Making sure my edges are nice and smooth. And pulling it out, or pulling it towards the middle. There we go. Don't worry too much if you go over any of that red shade, because we're going to blend that into the pink that we have. All right. Up here too. Try to smooth out your edges. Mix up some more. So just more red and white. Thin this out some with some water, dilute it with some water. There we go. And see, that's too light. Add more red to it. that's better. Don't forget the handle. Add more water to my brush. This paint's kind of thick. And like I mentioned, whenever you add white paint to anything, it's pretty thick. So take some water to dilute it. I'm going to smooth out this handle some. All right. Same thing over here. See, I'm kind of avoiding the areas where I put that darker red because we're going to add some more red paint there and blend it in. All right, and down in here also. Now, I'm going to go back with that smaller brush that we were using and go back in with that darker red or pink color that we had prior. And all I did was just take red and white to make a pink, and I added a little bit of green to it to deepen it up. So I'm going to mix up just a little bit more. Just red and white. And just a touch of green. All right, I'm just gonna thin this out some, diluting my paint some. Go over where I had that red or that darker pink and pull it out towards the middle the same way we did the green. Same thing here. I think I am going to just connect all of this and just push it out towards the middle. All right, I'm going to add some of this darker shade around the top part of the handle, or around the sides of the handle, and kind of follow that whole handle all the way down with this darker tone and blend it out towards the middle. A little bit on the other edge of the handle too. All right. Right in here, we're going to do that same thing. Paint along the side with that kind of darker shade and push the paint out towards the middle. And in the middle, I'm going to kind of just go back and forth and kind of blend some of that shade just roughly in the middle. All right, we're going to do the same thing up in here. I'm going to follow this line right in here. Add some to the top. And then I'm going to blend out towards the middle and towards the sides. There we go. Same thing with the little top. Go around the sides of this little circle. And then blend it out towards the middle and around. And up in here, I want to kind of do that same kind of wiggling back and forth that we did. All right, so we're going to do this side of the teapot also. I'm going to go around the sides and right up here. And push the paint towards the middle. Push the paint out towards the middle. And then kind of blend it together in the middle. All right, let me take a look back. All right, so let's do that with these down here. I'm gonna start right in here in the middle part, or the center of our teacup. And then blend it towards the middle. There we go. The same thing with the handle. Same thing around this side. Kind of painting around the sides and then blending in towards the middle. And pulling that out towards the sides. And blending it in towards the middle. Same thing with down here. Putting some of that darker shade at the bottom. And then blending it in towards the middle. Around the side of the cup, we're going to do the same thing. Put some of that darker shade here. And then push it out towards the middle. And then roughly blend it. I'm going to add some of that over here. And push it out towards the middle. There we go. All right. All right, so with the yellow right here, instead of doing a darker yellow, I'm actually going to do kind of an orange shade or a peach tone. So I'm just going to use some of that pink that we mixed up and some yellow to make a bright kind of orange or coral shade. Add some more yellow to that. And some white. All right, and around on this side, I'm gonna add some of that color and pull it out towards the middle. Take a step back. Okay. Dilute that just a little bit. And some of that shade on this side too. And blend it out towards the middle. And then roughly kind of blend it or shade it in together. All right, so we're going to go back here and do a really pale pink. So back with that same brush, the large round brush. Going to use some of that lighter pink that we just had and add more white to it just to make it more pastel, to give it a really pale pink shade. There we go. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to dilute it some. I want it nice and thin so it just blends into what we have. It doesn't cover up everything that we have. I think that's good. And I'm going to start in the middle and kind of fan it out. The same thing up here, in the middle up here. I'm just going to do little strokes down the handle. You see how I'm just kind of wiggling the brush to kind of blend that's together. Right up in here too. Start in the middle and then kind of fan it out or wiggle it out. Same thing down in here. Start in the middle and kind of fan it out towards the sides. I'll add some more water to that because it's a little bit thicker than I want it to be. There we go. Same thing here. Let's put some down first. And then blend into it. All right. Little touch up in here. All right. And with that yellow that we just had for the vase, I'm going to make a light yellow with just some yellow and some white. And do the same thing in the middle, kind of blend it out some. Let me take a step back. Okay, pretty. I'm liking that. So, of course, I'm gonna use the white paint I got. I'm not gonna get any more out. All right. Now I'm just gonna do some highlights with some white. So I'm gonna do what almost looks like a little L shape. And kind of just fan it out at the top right here. And thin this white paint out some more. Do a little bit on that side. And push it out. There we go. Some up in here in the middle. I'm going to do a streak right here in the handle and kind of blend it out some. All right, I'm going to do a little line here, wipe my brush off some, and push that out towards the middle. I'm going to soften it some. Sorry, you guys, I keep getting in my zone. I'm being kind of quiet today. A little bit down here and push that out. Put a little bit of water on my brush. There we go. All right. I'm gonna add some here. And push that out, going towards the middle. All right, we're gonna do that same thing over here. I'm gonna add a line here and one, I think, down here. There we go. Add some to the handle. Add some to the vase. And there I go. I'm so quiet today. And softening up the line right here. I'm going to add some more over to this side. And push that paint out. Alright. Gonna add some highlights of white just here and there in the little petals. Careful not to cover up all the love that we put in there with all those layers. All right, let me take a step back again. Okay, I want to add some brighter greens up in the leaves. So I'm going to take some yellow and some white, the same yellow really that I did the vase in, and add some green to it. Make almost a lime green tone. And I'm just going to put some of this in the middle. And kind of just wiggling it back and forth in the middle like we did earlier. Alright, I'm going to put that down, clean my brush off again, and get some of this white paint. And add some highlights of the white onto our leaves also. And I'm kind of just putting them here and there, not being particular. Only thing I'm being particular about is making sure I don't cover up all the detail that we did. And the very last step is we're just going to add some shadows with just some plain black paint, and then we'll be done. Alright, so black paint is really thick, just like white paint. So you want to add a good deal of water to it to thin it out. So I'm just getting it nice and thin to a nice consistency to where I can just keep it moving and not have to keep stopping to add more water. So like a nice ink consistency. All right, and I'm just going to add some shadows here and there, just wherever I feel like anything needs to be defined. So I'm not going to cover anything completely in black. That I'm not going to do. Matter of fact, switch to the smaller brush. There we go. I like this one better. Yep, I like that one better. And just add in my shadows with my black, just plain black paint. That's all I'm doing right now. What I'm not going to do is cover the whole entire thing in black. I just want to go over areas where I want things to stand out. You need the dark for the light to stand out, and you need light shades for dark to stand out. And see, I'm just adding some black here and there. Just adding some black here and there wherever I want any area to stand out a little bit more. And see, I'm kind of just using the black to make certain areas stand out or be more defined. I'm not being overly particular or too precise. I'm just using the black to add detail. All right, and we'll add some of this black into the flowers in the vase, and then we will be done and all good to go. All right, so I'm gonna go around some of the little petals first. All right. Add some little lines of the black coming out of some of these petals. Yep, I like how that looks. And in the middle of these, I'm just going to add some black little dots or splatters, whatever you want to call them. And just go around these leaves a little bit with some black. And next time, I think I'll revisit doing another teapot. Maybe I'll just do the teapot by itself so it won't take so long, but with some flowers and all of that pretty stuff. All right. And like always, let me take a step back. Let me look, let me look. All right. I think I like that. I might have could have added another little teacup and saucer, but I did not want this piece to take too long or be overly complicated. So I am happy with this. I hope you guys enjoyed painting with me today. Please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Comment, you guys. Leave me some suggestions of things that you would like to see in the future, or any techniques or any things that you would like to learn. I enjoyed myself with you guys today. Thank you so much for all your support. I truly appreciate it. And I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.